which my pregnant wife started bringing her dead husband back into our marriage. I didn't understand why until it was almost too late. Throwaway account? This is long and I've tried writing it shorter 3 separate times and given up each time because the short version makes it sound like a ghost story and it isn't one. It's a story about grief and about how long it took me to understand that the thing I was jealous of wasn't actually a dead man at all. I found my 7 months pregnant wife sitting on the floor of the nursery at 11 at night, lights off except for the small lamp shaped like a crescent moon we'd bought for the corner of the room, holding a photograph I'd never seen before of a man I recognized immediately even though we'd never met. Adrian. Her first husband, 6 years dead by then, and there she was, one hand resting on the curve of her stomach, the other holding his photograph like it was something fragile enough to break if she gripped it too hard. She wasn't crying. That's the part that unsettled me more than anything else about the scene. She looked calm, almost peaceful, in a way that felt entirely disconnected from what I understood grief to look like after 8 years of marriage. When she noticed me in the doorway, she didn't flinch or try to hide the photograph. She just looked up and said quietly, "He would have been a good father." I didn't know, standing there, that a plain brown package with no return address had arrived at our house exactly 6 days earlier, or that it would be the first of several, each one bringing some fragment of a dead man's life back into ours, each one making my wife more distant and more frightened at the same time, in a way I wouldn't fully understand for months. I also didn't know, standing in that doorway, that Elise already suspected something about Adrian's death that she'd never told a single living person, including me. I'm Caleb Mercer, 35, a civil engineer, the kind of steady, methodical profession that suits someone who genuinely believes, or believed, at least before all of this, that most problems can be solved if you're patient enough and organized enough about identifying their actual cause. My wife Elise is 33, an archivist at a regional history museum, meticulous and quietly passionate about her work in a way I always found deeply attractive. The kind of person who could tell you, unprompted, the entire provenance of some obscure 19th century object most visitors walk straight past without a second glance. We met almost 5 years ago, 3 years after Adrian's death, at a fundraiser for the museum that a mutual friend had dragged me to. She told me about Adrian on our second date, plainly, without drama, the way you'd mention any significant fact about your own history to someone you were hoping might eventually matter. I appreciated that honesty immediately. I never asked her to pretend Adrian hadn't existed, and she never asked me to either. And for most of the 5 years that followed, that arrangement worked exactly the way it was supposed to. I want to be clear, before I go any further, that this isn't a story about a neglectful husband who drove his wife back into the arms of a memory because he wasn't paying